Good evening. Welcome to the Pullman City Council Meeting for this April 12th. And today is a special day because we're going to have a joint meeting with Aswsu with us today. And we'll be talking about that in a couple of minutes. But first of all, Dee, would you please take roll?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Midgerman.
Present.
Councilmember Dubin. Here. Councilmember Guido. Here. Councilmember McCall.
Here.
Councilmember Parks.
Here.
Councilmember Wellers.
Here.
Councilmember Wright.
That's you.
And Pat Wright notified us that she could not be here tonight. Do I hear a motion to excuse?
So move.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, we have our announcements tonight, and we have a few of them. So this is an interesting one because we know that we always have an egg hunt at Krugel Park, always on Saturday. It's going to be April 16th, just in case you were wondering. But Aquatics is going to have an underwater egg hunt at the at our aquatic center, and that's going to be at 6 p.m. So in case you want to go under for an egg, that's the way you can do it. And then the egg hunt at Krugel Park at 10 o'clock. The Council Ward Redistricting 10-day public comment period will begin on April 16th. Whitman County Landfill Spring Cleanup Week is going on now through the 16th. Eileen, do you want to say anything more about the cleanup? Because I know that you're on one of those committees.
That's one committee I'm not actually on, so I don't
Really?
yeah.
Oh, well, I thought something had to do with over there, so just double checking that. And then we had a couple of announcements that came out of the police department this week. This is also the National Animal Care and Control Association Week. And Animal Care and Control Appreciation Week celebrates and promotes the important work of those who handle and care and control animals throughout the nation. Pullman police officers responded to about 770 calls for animal-related services throughout the community in 2021. Calls were handled in cooperation with local pet owners, veterinary staff, and the Whitman County Humane Society. Again, they just do a fantastic job. And this is also National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. April 10th through the 16th recognizes the invaluable contributions of the emergency dispatchers to public safety and emergency response at Whitcomb, the 911 center for this area. So those are the announcements tonight. Next item on the agenda is confirmation of appointment. I am recommending to you, and this again was interviewed by the library board, Kate Watts for the Neal Public Library Board of Trustees with a term expiring December 31st of 2026. And Ann Park, since you're an ex officio on that board, if you want to say anything about it, or if you'd like to make a motion, we'd be more than happy to hear it.
Thank you, Mayor. Kate Watts was our top candidate for the people who applied to the board, and we think she'll do just a fine job. So I would like to nominate Catherine Watts to the library board.
Second.
Okay, for the confirmation. All right, a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, with that, we can now begin our ASWSU joint meeting. And next to me is the president of ASWSU, Brian Patrick. And we also have Alex Pan, who is the vice president, and at one time the community affairs director. Fatima is now the community affairs director. That means she gets everything done and goes to our Chamber of Commerce board meetings at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. You've been doing a fantastic job, and you've done a lot in this community. I just want you to know that, just in case you guys didn't know, okay? So we've been doing these joint meetings with ASWSU since 1997. And one of the things the council wanted to have at that time was we want to have better relations and better communications with ASWSU and the university as a whole. And in the past, we've always had two meetings. The fall meeting was here at City Hall, and the spring meeting was at WSU. However, then COVID and the pandemic hit. And so when we had classes that were online and we didn't have a chance to get together. So this is our first time getting together without masks and with other things. So if you'd like to make some comments about it, just turn the mic on here and of getting together. And then I know you have some senators here today. I don't know if you want to take roll or not, but just, and then if they have some comments they would like to make, we'd be more than happy to hear from them. But Brian and Alex and Fatima, so
yeah,
we'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you inviting us here today. It's awesome to kind of be able to be back in person and having these interactions And then, I don't know, Pan, if you want to add.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. I know, like, through COVID and whatnot, it's been really great having all the students back on campus, and it's been an awesome experience how the Pullman community has invited us back into Pullman. Fatima, would you like to add anything? Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say, well, thank you all for being here tonight. I've worked with so many different community members, and I'm really grateful for this position. And I'm so glad that I'm ending my transition period with seeing all your faces in real life, and it's no longer on Zoom. It's just really interesting to have started the position all being Zoom meetings, and now we get to see all of you in person. So thank you all for being here today.
And as we start out in the past, we've usually had some topics that you wanted to talk about and what the council wanted to talk about, but this is sort of just getting acquainted again, trying to get something going like that. So if there's some matters that you have from your senators or that you would like to bring to the council's attention that we can at least talk about, obviously we're not going to pass any resolutions tonight because that has to go by our legal staff, and Kendall's there on duty ready to go. So any of those kind of things we'd just like to hear about. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just kind of get acquainted and everything. This is kind of the end of Alex and I's terms, as well as Fatima. And so now we have our vice president-elect here, Jacob Martinez, as well as a few other senators and an executive staff member here. So it's awesome to see the Aswcu tradition rolling on. We had a lot more people in attendance. And then one thing that, like, ASWC, or two things that we did this year that we're really proud of. One of them is we worked with the Student Veterans Committee at WSU. They're tucked back in this real small corner of the library with only one admin person there. So we started working with Chancellor Chilton and all admin to try and get them in a new space, get them more advisors, so that way our veteran students have that opportunity to, it's a lot of, they have to balance like the GI bills and everything else going through State Department. So it's cool to see the progress that's being made there. Part of that is getting more admin or more advisors for them, as well as a larger space. And then also we do a lot of legislation as well. So one of the ones that like Alex and I took part in as we testified in front of the U.S. or not the U.S., sorry, the Washington State legislators, and that was in support of House Bill 1751, which was anti-hazing for WSU Pullman. And we were very happy to say that passed unanimously, and is now being referred to as Sam's Bill in memorial of Sam Martinez. So just a few quick highlights. I don't know if anyone has any commentary on that, but.
Okay. And is there any particular items that have come up from, I know that we usually do walk-alongs a couple times a year with our Public Works and with, actually we've had Paul Kimmel from Avista there, and we take a look at what lights are working, things like that, and any sidewalk issues, anything like that. I don't know if we have one scheduled. I know we're talking about it. I don't know if we finally came up with a schedule on it. But
Yeah, so over this past year, I've been really thankful with Allison Rotolo and everyone on the College Hill Matters group. So we've had one last year, and we've identified a few spots, but I know we actually just got an email today about it, scheduling one for this spring. So we look forward to scheduling that and going out there and trying to identify those spots. But I know Fatima and I have been working hard to kind of get a plan with that. So right now we're looking for funding for one spot, but obviously that doesn't solve all the problematic spots. So we're hoping to transition into this new team, and hopefully teams after to identify these spots, and hopefully as years go on, hopefully we really crack down and solve some of these safety issues on campus.
And again, if there's lights issue, things like that we can handle, we can get those reported and take care of. And sometimes it just involves trimming trees and other kinds of things like that. But again, if there's a particular intersection, I still always remember that the four-way stop right in front of the Coug, that was brought by ASWSU for attention. We actually worked together with the police department and with Public Works and got that taken care of. So I know you have some other intersections around there too that are concerned. So just let those, those kind of things to our staff, and we can work with that. So.
Yeah, so actually with the last walk audit that we did identify a few spots with lighting issues, and we did work with Avista and other members to get those all resolved. Right now, Alex and I are actually working on one intersection on Colorado Street. So hopefully we're thinking about installing a beacon light there. So hopefully that will kind of end our transit or our term period, but that's also another project that hopefully will kind of help out with the pedestrian safety issues.
You mean you're going to be finished with your term? So, gee, I thought you'd just be hanging with us.
Well,
Alex
not like
gave a
Alex.
couple of semesters, a couple of years on that kind of thing, so.
Alex likes to stick along, but I don't
Well,
know.
that's good.
Gotta try new things.
Find out that's the way you get things done. Sometimes you have to hang around it. Any of your senators would like to make any comments tonight? Or your new vice president-elect who's here? And if you want to, you'd just come up here to the podium.
Is it on? Does it?
Yes,
work?
it is.
Okay, cool. Hello, all. My name is Jacob Martinez. I'm actually the president-elect of ASWSU.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you for having us here today. I know us senators have worked really hard this past year on different pieces of legislation. I know Mayor Johnson, we've met before previously while I was campaigning. I know we briefly talked about providing more mental health resources for students. Currently, from the students I've talked to, there's a 500+ wait list for one-on-one therapy. I know that both Mayor Johnson and I have talked about somehow recruiting more psychologists at WSU. I do know that they have to be Washington State registered, so we're going to work with, or me and Kiana, who's the vice president-elect, she couldn't be here today, but we're going to work together to see what we can do to, combat this issue, whether it's doing some kind of, online network where it's using BetterHelp. I know that's something both Kiana and I have looked at, but that's one of our main goals, and I just want to say thank you for letting us be here today.
And that's one of the things the consul's talked about, and I know that Nathan has been mentioning that quite a bit, but we were talking about just trying to get credentials accepted from other states, and that would really help address some of the issue, just because there's so much demand for it right now.
Yeah.
But I think, Jacob, you and I, we talked about possibly working with the state legislature and trying to come up with some ideas there and try and push it forward. And I have brought it a couple of times to our state senator and some of our reps, and working together, I think we can do it. Nathan, the same way. Nathan, you might have some comments on that too as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you for addressing this. I'm on right now a committee with any pillars addressing mental health awareness, suicide prevention, and it's in the early stages right now, but I know one thing as a goal that's been at the top of my list, and the city of Pullman has offered in the past, is mental health first aid training. And that's something that we opened up, I believe it was about 5 years ago. And our police officers go through it. It's open to fire as well. But it was important to open it to the public in general. And I think moving forward, ASWSU might be interested in attending that, because that's a goal that I had presented this year as well. So that's something that we can concretely do together. And so I appreciate what you're saying. It's very important for all of us to be paying attention to this, so thank you.
So Nathan, is there a way that we can make sure that Jacob knows when your meetings are going to be, so maybe somebody from ASWSU could go to those?
Yeah, let's offline, or you can get my contact and we'll...
That'd be great.
Great, thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? And Consul, any kind of comments you would like to make to ASWSU when we're here? This is sort of our get acquainted session. Sorry, Brian, but that's about what it is. Okay. Yes.
Hello, my name is Nikolai Sublet, he, him, his. I'm one of the all-campus senators with ASWSU. First, just kind of regarding the mental health resources, I think something that's also really crucial to kind of look into moving forward that I believe it's our president-elect of our Black Student Union is really passionate about, is looking towards finding multicultural psychiatrists for individuals. I know something that's a huge problem is, we have a huge multicultural population, huge undocumented student population, and a lot of times it can be really uncomfortable for those individuals to talk about isolation with like a white male, for instance. So making sure that there's people who have similar experiences to really look for, that's just something that I think that would be kind of cool to look towards in the future. Personally, myself, some of the projects I've worked on is I've been working with administration to implement an on-campus emergency contraceptive contraceptive vending machine. This would provide safe sex resources for individuals who do not have cars and are not able to get to Planned Parenthood or any off-campus area to get emergency contraceptives. I've also been working with our CCR and CCE to kind of collect a lot of the sexual assault resources we have and kind of do a peer-to-peer distribution of sexual assault resources, since a lot of individuals don't know about those resources. So that's something I've been really passionate and really looking forward to working on moving forward. With that, I'll yield. Thank you.
Thank you for mentioning that. Have you been in contact with Alternatives to Violence of the Palouse?
I have
regarding-
not contacted them directly, but they're definitely a resource I want to look into.
For both of those issues. I
Thank you.
think that they can help you.
And Ann's a good connection for Alternatives to Violence, the
Yes.
police. Okay.
Am I able to
Yes.
get your contact at the end of this?
Absolutely.
That'd be fantastic. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Nathan, additional.
In addition, it's not regarding, she's the expert for this. But the city of Pullman is undergoing a lot of really great change that I think will coincide with the interests of ASWSU. Sustainability Committee is something that we are going to be meeting this Friday. Personally, I'm also very interested in poverty. And this is something that I've brought up a number of times in the past with ASWSU regarding couch surfing. A lot of people don't quite understand. I know when I was going to WSU, this was something where many people, they just couldn't afford the rent prices, and so they couch surfed. It was always kind of a joke for some people, but it's not a joke. We do have homeless students. We do have homeless even teachers. And so this is something that has been near and dear to my heart. I'm working closely with PPD, Community Action Center, Fire Department, Family Promise, ATVP. We have a group, so I'd like us to be able to exchange some information as well moving forward.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from ASW? Yes. And again, thank you for coming here tonight. We appreciate it.
Nice to meet everyone. Thank you so much. My name is Nata Ponangpitak. I'm the current director of safety. And I just want to say the first things first, that Pullman is such a beautiful community. Ever since moving here from the west side, I've noticed that Pullman is such a loving community that I'm really glad to call myself, not a Pullman native, but a Pullman resident.
Yes.
But one thing first I want to get started is that I've noticed personally in the winter that winter can be really harsh. So that's something I'm really interested in is just teaching students, especially from the west side and from the California area, is just how to drive in the snow. That's something I'm really interested in because personally, driving in Pullman is very different from driving in Seattle. I noticed the first time it snowed here, I did a 180 in the parking lot, which was really crazy, but luckily no one was around. But something I'm really interested in is having a potential program just teaching students how to drive in the snow because it's really hard in Pullman, especially when it gets like the negative 20 degrees and it's just black ice everywhere. But that's something we're super interested in. Another thing that we've worked on with, especially with Brian Patrick, is doing Cpr Training and Certification. We just recently had an event, which was not that great turnout, but we're just working on trying to get more students more CPR certified and just more students able to be a first responder, not a first responder, but just be there as a resource in case something bad does happen. But other than that, I just want to say thank you so much for Pullman for being such a beautiful community and such a loving community.
Well, thank you. And of course, we always pitch that any student from the west side or from California should take the bus because we do have great bus service. They'll get you there safely. And we can always tell when the Californians are out there driving on the hills that don't know what they're doing. And West Siders sometimes will learn, but anyway, yes, I think every one of us, have had to learn how to drive in the snow, and we probably could set something up like that. The hills are always a challenge, yeah. And especially the other thing is that when people don't have the right tires, and they, we get comments, every one of us, because the old student, why didn't you have the streets plowed? Well, you have to do some of that yourself too, because the streets will get plowed, but we do a great job with that. But first of all, we take care of the main arterials to take care for the buses so they can get around. So, but anyway, thank you for bringing that to our attention. We can probably work on that.
Thank you so much.
Okay. If there's anyone else, okay. Yeah. Okay. One more comment.
So you did bring up a really good point. Whether you're from California or Seattle, it doesn't matter, New Mexico. being able to understand the changes. And I think that is actually a really insightful comment. So I just wanted to tell you that. And I think also something that it sparked in me is that often people don't realize the equipment you might need. If you're living, for instance, in one of the houses, you know, a lot of my neighbors, they're from California, they're from Seattle, and I would go out there and I would shovel their drive or put salt down or sand. But it's really difficult to know. I mean, we can sit up here if we've been in the Northwest and say, oh, yes, we know exactly what to do. But it's very difficult coming from a new area. So I wanted to tell you I really appreciate that, and I do think there's some opportunity to provide some equipment for new students, maybe working with administrators up at WSU for a program to say when to salt or how to do these sorts of things that maybe we take that for granted, being from the Northwest. So I appreciate that because that definitely sparked something inside of me, so thank you.
Okay, Ann?
Thank you. And also dovetailing on that, there is an organization called the Palouse Regional Transportation Planning Organization, and they really focus on Palouse driver safety campaigns. And so that might be a resource for coming in and teaching, you know, about winter driving. So we can connect about that, but they're very good.
That's the group that's put up the signs about cougars driving safely and not doing texting while driving. That's the group that's been doing that.
Yeah.
And that's the ideal group that could do something. So we got another good contact. We can work together on that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, if that's yes.
I do have, switching gears, but taking this opportunity, I work at a church up on campus, Community Congregational United Church of Christ, and we just recently started a campaign around Get Out the Vote, particularly targeting states in the country where there's quite a voter suppression effort. And we did put a sign up on the church, and it has since been taken down, disappeared, whatever you want to call it, and just concerned about what the implications are for that on campus. We've also, again, just speaking on behalf of my employer, we also have a lending library that has a rainbow LGBTQ mark on it that's been vandalized. So some concerns in that arena, and just wondering if we could kind of work together on some of those kinds of concerns and maybe, I don't know, report things or just keep an eye out. I know with College Hill efforts, we are definitely looking at those kinds of things, but just, it's concerning.
Okay. Any other comments from council? Okay.
Having to do with the voting, real quick.
Okay.
All right. You know, what Megan brought up as far as voting, this is extremely important. Many people are coming from out of the area, feel that it's important to keep your voting record in the area that you have come from, Seattle, so on. The challenge with that is, and I represent a good number of those in the apartments and so on, you give up that voice that you have if you decide to keep it in your original area. So I always try to explain to students who come in, it's great that you want to keep that. It's easy enough to switch it from one to the other when you move back. Most of you are going to be here 4 years. I was a bit of a 5-year student, but most of you will be here 4 years. And so being able to have your voice on city issues, which is going to affect you far more on your day-to-day than anything else, that's huge. That's really, really important. And so I'm going to emphasize that. I would never say you must do that or anything, but I will say be represented. So I'm going to say that, and I've spoken enough, but every time you come, it sparks new ideas. And this is why it's so important to have the WSU connection, which I know Mayor Johnson started many years ago. So.
Or, anybody else you want to have run against them. So the other thing we want to point out, and that's really good to get registered here so you can have influence, but we also want to point out that when you leave and you move to another area, if you should happen to leave, make sure you transfer your voting record to that new place. Because what happens is then we still send, the county sends and bills the city your voting, you'll send your ballots to your old location and you're no longer there, and so we end up paying for that. So that's great to move here, but also when you move to some other location, make sure you transfer it. So with that, thank you very much for being here. And again, this is our Get Acquainted session. Next time we might go a little bit longer, and next time we'll probably have an agenda. We'll work with it, okay? But right now this worked out great, so thank you so much. We'll just take like a 5-minute recess and then we'll reconvene our meeting here. And so if you want to exchange some business cards, we could do that right now. So we'll take a 5-minute break and then we'll come right back with the city council meeting. It's 7:32. We are reconvening the meeting of the Pullman City Council after a meeting with ASWSU. And the next on the agenda is the consent agenda. These items are considered routine in nature. The council's had a chance to look at these ahead of time. Do I hear a motion to read by title only?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, Kendall Frazee from McCall Law, from McAloon Law.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. Your consent agenda consists of a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the regular goal-setting meeting of March 22nd, 2022, and approve them as submitted. A motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable, checks numbered 106263 through 106271, electronic transfers 55, 56, 843, and 845 through 848, payroll direct deposits numbered 75543 through 75901, voiding payroll direct deposit 75458, totaling $964,803.63. A motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable, checks numbered 106272 through 106329, totaling $236,983.91. A motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable, checks numbered 106330 through 106380, totaling $1,926,120.54. A motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable electronic funds transfer numbered 3252022, totaling $64,922.60. Motion to approve the transfer of sales tax revenue to CIP Reserve Fund for 2022 Q1 in the amount of $311,936. Resolution number R-19-22, a resolution setting a date for a public hearing to accept comments on the proposed redistricting of city council wards and authorizing publication of the notice and maps for such hearing. And resolution number R-20-22, a resolution authorizing the execution of a Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity RAISE grant application to the United States Department of Transportation.
Is there any item the council would like off for discussion? Seeing none, the consent agenda consists of items 1 through 8. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Move and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We now move to the regular agenda. Item number 1 is an ordinance that R.J. Lott, the Community Development Director, will be talking about today. And it's dealing with code and looking at the Planning Commission from 9 to 7 members and going from, I think it had 6 years down to 4. So, R.J.?
Yes.
Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Before you this evening is an ordinance, which is in your packet. It has minor edits to the Pullman Municipal Code 17.20 as it relates to the Pullman Planning Commission. As the Mayor just highlighted, it has a number of minor edits. The most notable of those is the reduction of Planning Commission members from 9 to 7. The primary reason for this is that it would be easier to get a quorum. Also, more of the comparable cities in Eastern Washington have a 7-member planning commission. There are currently, let me rephrase that, there's 1 current vacant position, 2 terms expired at the end of December of 2021. So as noted in your packet, comparable cities with a 7-member planning commission in Eastern Washington are Richland, Kennewick, Walla Walla, Ellensburg, Cheney, Spokane Valley, Yakima, and Sunnyside. Moses Lake has a 5-member planning commission, and Pasco is the only one that I could locate with a 9-member planning commission. Other minor codes in this update for the planning commission, it limits any new planning commissioner, their term from 6 to 4. This would likely increase interest in any new planning commissioners, as it may be perceived that a term of 6 years is too long to commit to, whereas 4 may be more pleasurable to a new planning commissioner. This also recommends at least 3 hours of training for newly appointed planning commissioners, and this would be within the first 6 months. This would help get planning commissioners up to speed on current items, as well as some procedural issues that may come up. It identifies myself, the Community Development Director, as the acting secretary of the Planning Commission, and it also includes the day, time, and location, which is the 4th Wednesday of each month at 7 p.m. here at the City Council chambers. There are no amendments in this code provision update that would amend any of the duties or responsibilities of the Planning Commission. On March 23rd, the Planning Commission reviewed this and came to a conclusion of a 4-2 vote in favor of recommending approval of this ordinance. Are there any questions of the City Council at this time?
Okay, Nathan, you had a question.
So, RJ, I appreciate your logic on this. It seems like you've had some time to think about this. I have heard from at least one planning member that had concerns that this happened rather quickly and without much notice. Somebody who had been on there for quite a while. So was there any discussion or attempt to work with the commission? Because considering the fact that we just got out of COVID, I can understand some amount of people being absent from the meetings, even if they are on Zoom. From what I understand, there wasn't that much of an issue making the meetings, that there were a few that were missed. So I'd like to get your input on, I respect your decision, but I'd also like to hear if you had approached the committee itself about we need to make more meetings.
Yeah, so that's a good question. This item came up really as a timing issue. We had one planning commissioner resign midsummer last year, and then two planning commissioners had their term expire at the end of 2021. So shifting from a 9-member planning commission to a 7-member planning commission at this time wouldn't result in the, for lack of a better term, kicking somebody off the planning commission. So if we were to make that change, now would have been the best time to do that.
But I think my concern wasn't about the best time. My concern is about discussing it with the committee members. So the timing, I understand. But first approaching the committee members and saying, look, we need to make more meetings. We need to have more of a quorum. It seems like we aren't. What is the best decision?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm personally, I understand what you're saying, comparable cities, so on and so forth. I'm not so comfortable with it coming before me without there being a in-depth conversation with the committee. And as you know, my background is also in planning, and so I do feel like having a lot of people involved is important for that process. But I appreciate what you're saying.
Any other comments? Yeah, Ann?
I just have one question. Are there any disadvantages to only having 7 members for planning?
The largest disadvantage is the ability to have a diverse planning commission. That's the only disadvantage that we really discussed during the planning commission meeting last month. With 9 members, it'd be more likely that we could get a variety of residents, different age groups, different ethnicities, different locations throughout the city. That would be about the only drawback to reducing it to 7.
Thank you.
And we have put out notice about planning vacancies, and we've had a couple of applications. Right now, we really need to have somebody on Military Hill. We have no one from there. We have people on Sunnyside Hill. We have people on Pioneer Hill. But College Hill, we have no representatives. We'd really like to recruit in that area as well to make sure it is diverse. And also, I think there's only one, after Stephanie resigned to go to, I think we only have one female on planning. And I've always tried to get more on that group as well. Megan.
So I just wanted to comment about the other code updates. I think reducing the terms to 4 for new people makes a lot of sense. 6 is a big commitment. I guess the other thing, at least 3 hours of training for newly appointed planning commissioners seems kind of like a bare minimum to me, because I already took, as a new council person, I took a 3-hour course on planning. And there's a lot to it. So if you're going to be on that as a volunteer, I would think that would be your absolute minimum in terms of training. So glad to see that that's at least a stated minimum.
Any other comments? Before, okay. Okay, go back to Nathan.
One more. I liked what Ann had said regarding, are there any disadvantages to going to a 7? And you said something that is pretty big, which is a lack of diversity if we go to 7. So if we're trying to get more diverse committees, I don't see how it would be beneficial to go to a 7 if that is our goal. If you say that it would reduce that diversity of age group and individuals. So I just wanted to mention that to the other council members as well. If that's our focus, I don't see how going down would be